Let's spend some time looking at the third R in the 4R model, responsibilities. Let's take a minute and review where we've been. Mentally, fill in these blanks. Well, how did you do? All right, let's move on. Responsibilities. Responsibilities are what you would see a leader do if you were to follow him or her around all day. Now, leaders are responsible for a lot of things, not the least of which is results, but that's a whole nother R. Let's take a minute and look at specifically what we mean by responsibilities. Specifically, we mean vision casting, strategy formulating, aligning, and motivating. These are the 4 skills that a transformational leader must be able to do in order to be successful. Now here's an intriguing diagram. You'll notice that the 4 roles are in the center and the 4 responsibilities are circling around the outside, indicated by the arrows. What we want to communicate here is all 4 responsibilities show up in each of the 4 roles. For instance, if you're in the coaching role, then the responsibilities of vision casting, motivating, aligning, and strategy formulating are all part of that role. All right, so now here then are the 4 major responsibilities of the transformational leader. Let's stop and take a deeper look at each one of them. Beginning with vision casting. So what is it? As you can see, it is communicating a compelling and easily understood picture of a preferable future. And the more the leader can make that picture tangible, the more compelling the vision will be. Now take a minute and absorb this next slide and notice the difference between leadership and management. Notice that implicit in this definition is the idea that leading change is a leadership issue. Well, so what? Why is vision casting important? Well, it's important because it provides these essential factors to the organization. In fact, we could turn this around and say, if any of these factors are missing from the organization, chances are people have either lost the vision, or they have forgotten the vision, or the vision was not clear and compelling in the first place. Here are some of the ABCs of a good vision. First, it needs to be appropriate. It needs to fit your group. You can't just take somebody else's vision and plug it into your organization. It needs to be bold. Who wants to follow a wimpy vision? It should be clear and concise. People in the organization should be able to share with each other very easily what the vision is. It needs to be desirable, again, for this group. If all these things are true, it should be energizing, and it needs to be feasible. But it only needs to be feasible in the eyes of the people in the organization. It doesn't matter what people outside of the organization think, as long as those inside believe this vision is obtainable. When it comes to creating good vision, Jim Collins would say it's important to honor what he calls the core ideology of the organization. That is, the core values and the core purpose, because they don't change. They remain fixed. Everything else may change around them, including strategy and tactics, but the core ideology remains the same. So what does he mean by core values? Well, he's talking about the organization's essential and enduring tenets. They have intrinsic value. They have importance for those inside the organization. For instance, Apple has a value of insanely great design. 3M has a value for product quality and reliability. It's just part of who they are, and good vision will never change that. Core purpose is the organization's fundamental reason for being. It gets at deeper reasons for the organization's existence beyond just making money, and it reflects the importance that people attach to the company's work, and it taps into their idealistic motivations. For example, Mary Kay Cosmetics. You know what their purpose is? Their purpose is to give women unlimited opportunity. Notice that it says nothing about their product. Johnson & Johnson's purpose is to alleviate pain and disease. And for Disney, it's bringing happiness to millions. A good vision never contradicts the core purpose of the organization. Let's look now at the second responsibility, strategy formulating. So what is strategy? Strategy is simply the means to getting to the vision. It's how you're going to get there. Let me give you an example. A few years ago, Irene Rosenfeld, the CEO of Kraft Foods, said, "Our vision should be to offer food in ways that are convenient to customers." Now, Kraft is a big company with a lot of divisions and very siloed, at least they were at that time, and a lot of different food products. She said, "We need to look at the products through the eyes of our consumers versus the manufacturer or the provider of these products." And so they began to develop things like ready-to-eat Jell-O with fruit in it. They came out with Oscar Mayer bologna, cheese, and crackers all packaged together. This forced the different divisions to work together and cross their divisional lines, but it was the strategy, and the successful strategy, to get to the vision, which was to offer food in ways that are convenient to our customers. As you can see, once again, there's a difference between the way leaders and managers respond to strategy. Leaders don't have to know all the details, but they do have to provide the top-level strategy for the organization. When Alan Mulally became the head of the Ford Motor Company, he said, "Our overarching vision for the company's brands and management is primarily about the Ford namesake brand, the Blue Oval, and making that mighty globally." And so his strategy was to reconsider virtually everything that doesn't fuel that one specific fire. Therefore, they sold Aston Martin, Jaguar, Volvo, and closed down the Mercury division. He said it's most important in getting the company's operations around the world to develop vehicles that can share platforms, engines, and other parts to save engineering and purchasing costs. Now, he didn't have to work that out, the managers did, but he did have to supply that top-level strategy. As you can see, there are all kinds of tools to help you formulate your strategy. You may have used some of these, like SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, or the PEST analysis, which is political, economic, social, and technological. Porter's 5 forces, for instance. There's a whole list of these things, and for right now, all you really need to know is there are plenty of tools for helping craft a good strategy. You don't have to start from scratch, and the value of these tools is they make sure you don't miss critical factors. It's really hard to overestimate the value of a good strategy. Strategy can make or break an organization. But I don't want to leave you with the impression that it's up to the leader to develop the strategy alone. In fact, it's a good idea to get others involved. They're going to see things that you don't see, but beyond that, what they will come to see are the harsh realities facing the organization that you see as the leader. They will also begin to understand why the vision, the preferred future, is a better place to be than where they are today. And if you actually give them a hand in crafting the road, how they're going to get from where they are today to that preferred future, the buy-in will be much greater on their part. And now we come to aligning, the third responsibility of a transformational leader. Just because you roll out a new vision doesn't mean everybody's going to be excited about it. In fact, there are a whole variety of ways that people are going to react to any new vision. The bigger the organization, the wider the variety. Perhaps you've seen some of these reactions to new vision in your organization. Take a minute and digest this slide. let me see if I can sum this up. Alignment. It's all about helping people in the organization own the vision. They buy in at the gut level. They get it. They take it on and they know how to contribute to its success. Jim Collins, in his article Building Your Company's Vision, says this: building a visionary company requires 1% vision, 99% alignment. Creating alignment may be your most important work, but your first step will always be to recast your vision or mission into an effective context for building a visionary company. In other words, never underestimate the power of alignment. Certainly, alignment has to do with making sure that all the processes in the organization are aimed at the vision. But more than that, alignment is about the hearts and the minds of the people who work in the organization. For instance, you work with some people whom I would call owners and others who I would call renters. Owners are easy to spot. They buy into the vision. They get it. They're responsible for their actions. They know how to contribute to the organization, and they're accountable. Renters, on the other hand, are kind of there for the paycheck. They're putting their time in, and if something else good comes along, that's fine with them. So here's the question. How do you align people's hearts and minds? How do you turn renters into owners? Well, one way is to start to see things from their perspective. What's in it for them? Why should they care about the vision? What are they going to get out of this deal? Get them involved in crafting the strategy and the tactics. How is this vision going to become realized where they work? What can they do to contribute to the vision? When they do contribute, reward that behavior. And make sure you get rid of all the roadblocks, the policies or the procedures that would keep them from reaching that vision. One of the things that will cause cynicism in the organization is to say, this is our vision, but then do nothing to help people attain it. Try to see things from their perspective. As you can see, the job of aligning is very closely related to the responsibility of motivating. So what is motivating? Well, here's a definition that's going to suit our purposes. Motivation is the leadership work of sustaining organizational momentum through personalized input to employees so that they continue to act as owners of the vision. And acting as owners of the vision is exactly what we want. Anybody can be motivated when things are going well and life is good. It's when things get tough that motivation is required, and it's up to the transformational leader to do something about that. If you think about it, leaders speak to the heart. They use a completely different language than managers do. Think about some of the great motivating speeches of history. Dr. Martin Luther King's "I have a dream" speech, after all, was not "I have a plan." Leaders speak to the heart. Managers speak to the details. That's why we like to say that leadership is more about inspiration than perspiration. Motivation is a huge topic, but it's an extremely important topic for leaders. Listed on this slide are some of the more prominent motivational theories, and there's dozens more. But they all seem to revolve around some key questions, like, can you even motivate someone else? Is motivation intrinsic, extrinsic, or is it both? And how does this situation affect motivation? These are all really important questions for leaders to sort out. Can you imagine trying to lead somewhere but not knowing how to motivate the organization? Leaders motivate in different ways, and here are a list of some ways that leaders motivate. But think of this. You know from Strength Finders that everybody is unique, and people have different preferences, which means they have different motivations. If you look at this list of motivators, which ones work for you? Now think of somebody you know really well, a spouse or a sibling or a very close friend. Which one of these motivators works for them? One of the things leaders have to keep in mind is, One size doesn't fit all. Well, there they are, the 4 responsibilities of a transformational leader. So which one did you feel drawn to? Personally, I like aligning. I can do that all day long, day after day, and never grow tired. How about you? Which one did you feel least comfortable with? These are important questions to ask yourself as you think about writing your personal leadership development plan. Well, that's the overview of the responsibilities portion of the 4R model. You'll find more information on Moodle to help round out this view.